Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unnext Network's presentation of Fate Magazine Radio with the one and only, the intrepid Kat Hobson. For many, many years, Fate Magazine had distributed the oddities of the earth, paranormal mysteries, and truths that have lasted the test of time. Kat Hobson is the online voice of Fate Magazine, and here she is on her video premiere of Fate Magazine Radio right here on the Unnext Network. Kat Hobson.
Hello there. Thank you so much for joining me for tonight's episode of Fate, and I'm very excited. Not only are we premiering as video tonight here on the UNX Network, I love being part of the X, but I get to welcome someone that I admire so much. His name is Mikey Thompson. He is the founder of SCARS, which is the SoCal Apparition Research Society. He's going to get so bent, but not really. But he is one of the best people with EVP that I've ever worked with. He is so good with a drone. I mean, when we were in Scotland, he actually took flowers on his drone and dropped them on a stone in the North Sea, under which they had buried a witch. And probably those were the first flowers she's ever gotten. And I am so blessed to be able to call this man my friend, my brother in the paranormal research field, Mikey Thompson. I'm so glad you're joining me, Mikey. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The first time on video.
Well, I'm very excited because I've been wanting to do this for so long, and Race Hobbs is probably he is the best producer I know. And I am so excited to be part of KUNX that this just seems to be coming together and making a really fun time because you're here.
Well, I'm honored to be the first, so thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I'm just glad you could do it. You know, we have done a lot of things together now.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Not only that, we have traveled together and nobody died. So,
that's right.
You know, I don't know that David could have done that. David's my husband. But, you know, it's so much fun when we get together, when we get to talk. We were at Winchester House. That was awesome. We have just really, we've had some opportunities.
Yeah, and it's all Rick McCollum's fault, you know.
Yeah.
If I hadn't met
slam that
guy,
on him.
I would have never met you, and it just spiraled all over from there. I mean, but what an adventure. And you know, I don't know about you, but I when I first met you, I felt like I already knew you, and I wasn't meeting you for the first time. It was just like we were hanging out again. Hey, girl. Hey, Lori's in the house.
Hey, Lori Dorsey. Love you, girl. I am so really excited because, you know, Lori has followed both of us forever. We have had just the best time doing different investigations. She was with you when you got over to the old Paulding jail.
Oh,
so
yeah.
With my little phone call with the spirits, that was fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, well, I have to ask you, because I know, but other people aren't going to know. What got you involved in paranormal research?
Well, I have always, I had things happen when I was a kid, you know, like everybody else. But the main reason was in 2002, in September of 2002, I found my 16-month-old floating face down in the deep end of our pool at home. She had gotten out back and had drowned, and so I got her out of the pool and I started CPR right away. Long story short, she was asystole for 25, 26 minutes is what we calculated between EMS and the docs, and the times with the hospital and time we got to the hospital to the time they got a pulse back. It was about 26 minutes, and she survived it. So we spent a month down in Loma Linda, and she was, the first couple of weeks we weren't even sure if she did survive it, what the extent of the brain injury would be, and things like that. I mean, we had no idea, because she was just she wasn't waking up. And so about 2.5 weeks in, she came around, and then they tried to take the breathing tube out, but her mother and I took turns working shifts, holding her, trying to get her through it. And she had an infection in her lungs, and she had a lot going on. She couldn't tolerate not being on the breathing machine, so they had to re-intubate her. And so we spent the rest of the time there until they could get her lungs cleared out and everything. But she, thank God she pulled through that, and we got home. And I noticed, when we got her home, she was different.
Are you okay with this?
Yeah.
Because you sound very maybe not. And if you don't
No,
want to do this, it's okay.
no, it's okay. It's been 20 years.
Well, I mean, I
22
know
years.
that, but I don't want this to be difficult.
Yeah.
More so than it is just having lived it. Are you okay?
No, I'm okay. Yeah, thank you. And
Okay.
honestly, I found, and the hope is, when we talk about this, that it's not just the paranormal that we're talking about. The hope is that other families, if anyone's listening that's gone through this or is going through this, the story would give them hope, because as we all know, not every story ends up like this. I could have easily had a funeral, and we didn't. So it's okay. I don't mind sharing, because the hope is someone else will benefit from it, or find peace and find hope. So, but yeah, she was different when we got her home. Before the drowning, she was an ornery little, firecracker.
Hero.
Yeah, she had this strawberry blonde hair. She was like a little fireball. And but when we got her home, she was just very she was just different. She just kind of moped around, and a lot of it was the trauma that she went through, and it took time to heal from that and to kind of get back to normal for her. But during that time, Julie and I, her mother and I, there was one particular day we were in the dining room, and we could hear her coming down the hallway talking, like a little toddler chatters. And but she turned towards our entryway, towards the front door, and she said, "Bye, Grampy, bye, great great grandpa." And Julie looked at me, and Julie's not, she's very strong. She's not very emotional, but she kind of broke down. And so because she said, who is she talking to, but she knew. So Julie's grandfather passed away at 46 of bladder cancer, and he didn't get to see Jelena. We missed him seeing her by about a week. She was born early, and it was in the hospital, and we were making plans to get him into the hospital to see her, but he didn't make it. And so, and how would she know that we called him Grampy? And then his father was great great grandpa, and he would tell all the kids, "I'm great 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 great. I'm so great. I'm the great 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 grandpa." So Julie and Julie had always felt like, if we're going to get into the paranormal side of this, the spiritual side of this. She always felt like her father and others around that had passed had something to do with her pulling through this. She always wondered if her dad was there and took care of her and helped her through that. So, if you're a believer in that, we believe that too. And so it was a very emotional time. So we kind of got a feeling when that happened, that she was in tune to something. But it wasn't
Yes.
long after that I would wake up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat, having night terrors. I actually went to bed, and I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I had thought that I had dreamt she had lived. I thought
Oh my.
that yeah, I would wake up and literally sit up in bed thinking that she had died and that I was imagining she had lived. So I would run downstairs into her room, and I'd have to grab her out of bed and physically hold her and look at her and to know that she was alive. It was the most traumatic thing. If someone's ever gone through this, they know what I'm talking about. So, but she would wake up screaming like primal fear and have these night terrors. And so between the two of us, we were a hot mess. And
No
I
doubt.
would go. So the routine was every night I'd wake up, I'd run downstairs, I'd grab her out of bed, take her upstairs with me. I'd have to hold her, and the only way we could sleep was if she stayed in the bed with me. And that went on for a long time. But we learned that finally, I said, what's happening? What do you see? I wasn't the kind of parent that said, and I'm not, this isn't, if this is what you do, that's great. But for me, it was important that she told me what she
Right.
heard and what she saw. I didn't want to tell her that it was make believe or it was in her head. I wanted to know what was happening. She told me that little man was trying to get her, is what she called it. And so now I'm fighting something I can't see. And so this was in 2002 when the drowning happened. September of 2004, I lost my father to a heart attack. 2 years and 2 days to the date of Jelina's drowning. And then in October of that year is when Ghost Hunters aired. And I'll tell you, when I saw the premiere, the previews for that and everything, I thought, I've got to watch this show and I've got to see what these guys are doing. Maybe there's something on this show that I can see that I can do at home to find out what's happening with my kid. And so that's what started me buying equipment. And
Right.
because there were times when I would be in bed and I would wake up because I heard someone talking, and I thought that her mother had come home from work and was yelling upstairs at us to get up and get ready for the day. And I remember one particular time I was yelling back down. I'm like, what? Early in the morning, and she didn't answer me. So I kind of rolled back over to go back to sleep. And Jelina said, Daddy, Mommy wasn't talking to you. And I said, oh, okay. Maybe I was dreaming or something. But she said, somebody else was. And now so I heard somebody. And if
Right.
I'm hearing it and she's hearing it, then what the hell is happening? So I went and bought a voice recorder, and I was watching the shows, and I recorded us while we slept. And I actually got an EVP one night that's what sparked it. Once I heard that, I heard this howl, this growl, and I had the recorder on the nightstand right next to my bed. So whatever it was right there in the room, and it was horrifying. Like I just got chills all over my body. I remember it was that morning we woke
Did
up.
you have her with you at that point?
Yeah,
So it was coming to her.
I think so. So this went on for a while, and finally, long story short, I got fed up with little man. There was one night where she and I were in the living room watching TV, and she was in my lap in the recliner, and I had kind of rocked her to sleep. So I was watching TV, and it's dark, and there are the only lights coming from the TV. We had a computer desk in the corner, and it was dark in there. And I'm watching TV, and she whispers, Daddy. And I look down, and she's staring at the corner of the ceiling above the computer desk. She's not looking at me. She's staring at the ceiling. And I said, yeah, baby. And she said, I see little man. And I froze. I'm talking like sleep paralysis kind of freezing, like my body just shut down. And I was horrified to look because I didn't I you know it's one thing to be hearing stuff and then she's hearing stuff, but I didn't want to see this thing. But I did. I looked up in the corner, and the only way I can describe it is if you've ever been on an investigation or had a personal experience where you're in the dark, but you
Hmm.
see something darker than the dark.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I saw hovering in the corner of the living room. It was just hovering in the ceiling, in like that one corner above the desk. And so I got up and ran up to the bedroom with her. And after that, I was just determined to figure out what this was and get rid of it. So we ended up. Uh, it wasn't a very heroic way to do it, but she saw him down the hallway one day. She was afraid to go to her room. She wouldn't go down the hall to her room because she saw him in the hall. So I ran down there and I swiped at the air and I said, "Where is he? Where is he? And do I have him?" And she's like, "Yeah." And so I grabbed him and I was acting like I'm, fighting him. And the bathroom was right there. So the only thing I could think to do was go into the bathroom because what do little kids love doing?
Flushing.
Flushing the toilet. So I called her in there and I said, "Come on, let's help me, help me." And she came waddling in there and her face, I wish I could describe it. She was so involved in the moment. She was in her eyes, I had him
Yep.
and I was
Well, you
winning this
did.
fight. Yeah, and I was balling him up and I was trying to push him down in the toilet and I was telling her, "Flush him away, flush him, flush the potty, flush it." And she stood there and just kept hitting that handle and she was staring at the water and she was shaking and she was just flushing and watching this whole thing happen and I'm watching her reaction and I'm like, "Okay,
Right.
when I see her relax and I know she knows she thinks he's gone." And when that moment happened, I kind of fell to the floor by the toilet and I was looking at her and she's still shaking and looking at the toilet. And I said, "Baby, is he gone? Is he gone?" And she said, "Yes, Daddy, he's gone. Little man's gone." And the
Wow.
whole vibe in the room just changed. Like this weight lifted. It was just you could feel it. You could feel it just as much as you can feel it when you walk into a haunted place and you get that something's in here vibe. It was
Yeah.
gone. And so, but after that, I didn't stop with the paranormal because I felt like it was another way for me to get over it, to distract me, I guess, from what had happened, to keep my mind focused on something else. And I thought maybe I can help someone else. Maybe I can help another family or somebody else that's going through this because I know the feeling of not wanting to talk about stuff like this to coworkers or to family members because you don't want people to think you're crazy. And um, I was like, I'll be that guy that shares the story or tries to find stuff. And if one person sees it and can relate and like I said, find hope and peace in that or whatever, then that's great. But here I am, 22 years later, I'm still doing it. It's more therapeutic for me now. I really I I go for walks in cemeteries. I do weird stuff, but it's just
Well,
it helps me.
it's
It
what we
helps me.
do, right?
It's what we do. Yeah,
You
and I'll
go
tell you, Kat.
where you're going to get them from.
Yeah, and I kind of went to these events as they popped up and as I could go because I wanted to meet other people
Mhm.
that did this, and I wanted to pick brains and I wanted to learn. And I have found such a family in this paranormal community that I I can you can completely be yourself with these people and they will not judge you and they will not. I can tell them that crazy story and no one has ever said, "Man, you're crazy."
Right?
They embrace you. You guys have all embraced me and had showered me with advice and love I continue to this day to learn from people um, and so it's been a blessing really, and I just love it.
Well, and you have spent that time in honing your skills.
Yeah.
You're so good at EVP. You're a genius with a drone. I mean, you
Thank you.
you really are. I mean, I saw Araneth Castle, right? I know what that was like. And every time I look at the footage that you took for the Dark Zone, I just am like, oh, this
You
is
know,
so, I'm there,
yeah.
right?
And I did the same thing when I saw that they'd actually used some of those clips for that, and I just felt what an honor. What
Yeah.
an honor to have someone of that caliber that's been doing this for so long, that's
Yeah.
that brilliant, decided to my stuff was good enough to use in one of the videos. Like, it was just such an honor, like, wow.
Well, your stuff is that good. It's really funny. The only thing I wish, oh, there's a lot of things I wish were different about that trip, but the one thing that I do wish had happened was that you had your drone out with us when we were walking back from that cemetery
Oh
where
yeah.
Kristen took the picture of Rick for the book cover.
Yep.
And Lori and I were there because I had pictures of craft over Lori.
Oh
And I
wow.
think that if your drone had been up then, we would probably have had a different kind of experience than what we actually wound up having inside the castle.
Yeah.
I mean, because I mean, Lori had somebody walking beside her and she thought
Yeah.
it was me
I remember that.
and she was by herself.
I remember that. She was talking to
So
you because
she
she
was
remember
talking to
she
me and I wasn't there.
yeah, she thought that you were
Yeah.
standing right. I remember hearing her talking, like, what is she doing? Because I think I was back there with Rick. Oh no, I was walking with Kathleen back.
Kathleen
No,
and
no, no, no.
Kristen and
They had gone ahead of us. Actually, they had beat it. They had gone ahead of us. I think I was with Rick, but I could hear Lori talking. I'm like, who's she talking to? And then I
right.
remember her. I remember her stopping and like, wait a minute, Kat,
There's nobody here.
what's happening? Because
Yeah.
she had footsteps. Could feel the weight of somebody walking next to her.
Yeah.
Well, you're in a cemetery. I mean,
Well, this was coming back though. This was on the path coming back.
Well, yeah,
And
but
because I looked
yeah,
down and she was by herself walking. And and the midges were out. I was like, I'm done. I'm going to go catch up with Lori. She doesn't need to be walking by herself. And so I went skedaddling down there to her. And she was like, well, what do you mean you just got here? Right.
mhm,
And I thought, well, there you go. I
yeah.
had no idea.
And we
But
kept hearing stuff in the well, I mean, obviously we're outdoors. There's probably, whatever wildlife was out there, but there was stuff moving around in the trees next to us too. And
yeah,
I remember thinking, I kept panning the camera to see if I could pick up any
I
eyes or
never got any
anything.
wildlife on mine either.
I didn't get any wildlife, but I sure did hear branches cracking and
Yeah. But it was so funny because the last thing I expected when I looked at my imaging was to see a craft in the sky.
yeah.
And it was huge. It was a big craft. And I've got those pictures somewhere. It's probably on my video camera. But anyway, it was just really amazing. And because I showed Kristen and Lori the picture, and Lori was like, oh, no, oh dear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what that was. And that was kind of my take on it too, because who expects that? And that was our first night
Right.
because, you know, we weren't getting to stay in the castle. We were in this lodge and hungry and
Mm,
it was just like we've got to go do something or we're going to go nuts. So we did, and we found
yeah.
I don't know, I don't remember who found the cemetery, but it was beautiful and
Yeah, I
midgy.
think
There are lots of
yeah,
midges.
but
I think Chris
what great yeah, Christine
I
and
think
Kathleen
Kathleen
were
found
looking at
it.
stuff. Mhm.
Yeah.
And what great things came out of it, like Rick's book cover. Had we not
Yeah,
gone, he
I
would
know.
Christine wouldn't have taken that picture talking about the UFO experience or the craft or whatever it was that I mean, what if you we stepped into all things paranormal.
In
Like,
that one spot.
yes. I mean,
And
what a mind blowing, like, some people are lucky to have one or two experiences in a lifetime, but we literally got off the bus and walked right into all of it.
We did.
It was kind
And
of
then because of Rick's propensity for wearing Hollywood Ghost Hunters gear, we got to investigate the castle that night. That was
oh yeah,
awesome.
I mean,
And
that
I
wouldn't have
thought,
happened either.
no, and that probably shouldn't have happened. And yet everything was lining up for us, right?
Yeah.
So I was so excited to be able to just to see inside of that place, right? And I know
Yeah.
you were too,
Yeah.
because I didn't know what to expect. It's a 14th century castle, Araneth was,
Well, it actually went
or was
back
it
to Wallace
16th?
times. I mean, honestly, the foundation of that was back in the 12th and 11th,
Okay.
because
Okay.
so Falkirk is right behind there,
Right.
and that's where William fell to the English, and so it was rumored that at the time the English had control of Airth. And
Yes.
so they said they thought that when they captured William, that before they took him to London, that they had run him over to Airth because they knew that the rebels were going to try to get him back, and they had more supplies and everything at Airth. So they went to Airth. Well, this is the story that we heard
Right.
from the staff, that they went to Airth with William and held him there overnight, and then took him to London the next day, because actually Robert the Bruce went and burnt Airth to the ground.
Yeah.
And so that castle that we see today, I mean, obviously it's been rebuilt and rebuilt. The original was wooden and everything like that, but originally the foundation of that castle was way back in the Wallace days.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, to step inside there and to see, I mean, there were a couple of sections that they pointed out that they thought were original. Remember, in the bar area and in the back?
Yes. And then the part with the Nazi prisoners where the swastika was, remember?
Oh yeah.
And where they had been marking the days, but there literally was a swastika there. And so it was used to house prisoners of war.
Yeah,
And
we sure did get some good evidence there.
we did. Get out.
Yeah. Okay.
Poor Thomas.
I mean,
one of the gentlemen that worked for Araneth, they put us in a lodge because after we got there, we found out we weren't spending the night in that castle. They were putting us in a lodge because there had been a fire, water damage. Nobody bothered to check on that. So anyway, it was so funny because we met this young man. He was brilliant. We got to go into the castle our first night and investigate. I was blown away by the tartan. There was so much plaid. And it was not a tartan that I anticipated seeing, right? The orange and the blues.
Yeah.
So, which was what my grandmother got me a skirt of when I was young. So I don't know what tartan that was, but I had that when I was a kid. But anyway, so that's when we found that well. Remember, we got to tour through all these different places. Lori got some great SLS footage.
Yeah.
And I got some good EVPs. And it was just the bridal suite and stuff was so bizarre. That tub. I mean, that was a very sexy room. Back in the day, it would have been incredibly sexy. But there was so much that was so cool just in that one place.
Yeah.
And the history was outstanding. And then we got to do, because we stayed there for a while and we couldn't go out at night because we didn't have drivers. So we got to do things around the castle in the evenings. And Scott did a group reading. He's a medium. And both my dad and my nephew came through very plainly, my dad and my nephew. And that surprised me because I didn't expect to hear from anybody in Scotland. But So that whole place, Lori, oh, did you know there was a dog, a ghost dog there?
I did not.
Lori kept getting SLS footage around me, and I thought it was a kid. And
Oh.
I found out because I was researching Araneth again before the show just to, refresh my memory on some of the things. They have a ghost dog.
Hmm.
And I have an affinity with dogs and I have good relationships with dogs. And I asked Lori when I saw that, I said, would you please check your footage so that I can get a feel for that? Because I remember thinking it's small, maybe it's a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking and she sends it to me, and we were both like, that looks like a dog.
Wow.
It had back legs, it had like a long back, and I thought it was hands and arms. But then when I was walking away, I guess I turned around and said, you can come with me if you want to, or something, because it was like the front part of the body was coming to me, but the back part was like, I don't know. It acted like a dog.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was just kind of like, well, that figures. If there was going to be a ghost dog, I would have found it.
All right. Wow. Yeah,
But
I didn't know that. I remember thinking that we had gotten a child, or I
mhm,
remember that part. It was a small figure that
mhm,
popped up on there. Yeah, and what a happy accident that whole thing ended up being, because we had, from my
yeah.
understanding, there was no intention of any of us going to that castle at all.
Nope.
But somebody got word that we uh,
I don't know how that
had
happened.
I don't know how that happened, how we had gotten in there the night before, and now all of a sudden we're doing all kinds of stuff. But I'm so glad, because that means that the entire group got to go experience that, and
And they
maybe that
needed
wouldn't have.
to.
Yes,
I
100%.
mean,
Maybe that wouldn't have happened if you know.
I think that's absolutely true. And what was so funny was that when we were there with the group investigating, remember? And we were in the downstairs bedroom
Yes.
when Rick was signing books while we were investigating.
Hmm.
And we got this tremendous EVP right as the door opened.
Hmm. We had well, we had quite a few that night. And then, are
Mhm.
you talking about also when the
When
staff came
this
in?
came in. Yes, when the staff came in.
Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah, so they actually, that was brilliant too, because the staff had heard rumors and they were the ones telling us the stories. But
Yes.
they had never been part of a paranormal investigation, never had
Mhm.
done anything like that. So when we were playing this stuff back and they were hearing the responses, the staff is like, oh, they just lit up, because it's validation for them. I think all this time they've heard stories and they've shared stories and they've had their own experiences, but to be briefly part of that and to be able to experience something like that was super cool too.
And when the guy opened the door
So
and the
yeah,
EVP came out, "Get
yeah.
out." Yeah,
I, I, Rick
he
said,
said,
"I wish
"Okay."
we had." Rick said, "I wish we had a camera crew there in filming us doing that, because that was, you couldn't have scripted that any better. We were
You could
literally,
not.
and he was so afraid of that sort of thing. He didn't like that
Yes,
because he
because
had to lock the castle up at night. He had to be in there by
and he
himself.
had to
He didn't
go in
want to
there
hear
to do
all
the books at night.
that.
He had
Uh-huh.
to he had to
So
finish his job in there.
yeah, yeah.
So
And he was coming to let us know it was time to move on. Open the door. I hit play, and we all hear "get out," and he says, "All right," and turns
all
around and
right.
walks out, close the
He
door.
just slammed the door and went.
Brilliant. Yeah.
No hesitation
No
whatsoever.
hesitation. Yeah. It was just perfect timing. Perfect timing.
You
So
know, those are the things that we like.
yeah,
And
great
it was
stories, great
kind of at
memories.
his expense a little bit, but he thought it
But
was funny too.
he did, and he got, yeah. He said the same thing.
Later.
Wow.
He
What?
thought it was
Yeah.
funny later.
Later, yeah. What great timing. I wonder what happened, if anything happened after we left. I wonder if there's more stories. Um, I'm
Well,
curious to see. I mean, and I hope we didn't
I'd
stir
like to
anything
know.
up,
Well,
but
I think probably we would have let the spirits know that there are people who are interested in hearing you. That's to me, that's what that's the reason to go into places like that, maybe someplace that doesn't get a lot of interaction because people can't be there. And I think that sometimes spirits are excited when people come in. I know that, when I caught a 3-person EVP at SLOS, 3 different voices and 1 EVP,
Mm.
because I just said, who is that walking on the catwalk over me? I heard you. And I got a guy, I got a guy, I got a guy. And
Wow.
they were interacting with each other.
Yeah.
The first guy answered me. The second guy agreed with him. The third guy was offended by the first guy.
Wow.
It was hilarious. It
Wow.
really was. But, I think that when places don't get a lot of people coming to say hello, then the spirits probably get bored with each other. I mean, we would never get bored with each other because we always have fun when we get to see each other. But
Yeah.
if you're around each other all the time, and you're not great friends, or you're from different time periods, I don't know that you would interact all that much. Maybe you're lonely.
Yeah. Well, I think too that when we investigate together,
Mhm.
I think one of the most important things about our style is we don't provoke. We don't go in
Oh,
and we don't
no.
bully and we don't start drama. We try to find out if anybody's there, anybody wants to talk, or how do
Yeah.
you communicate and things like that. So we're not. It's like Rick says. You don't go knocking on somebody's door and then when they get to the door, kick it open and barge in and tell them, "Give
I
me something to
know.
eat," or rah, rah, rah. You go in and, "Hey, thanks for letting me," it's
Yeah.
just common sense and decency. And I'm not saying that,
Courtesy.
there are, yeah, just courtesy. There's some people, I guess there's different levels of provocation. Like there's been times where I've been stern. We were at Paulding when we were in Paulding jail.
Mhm.
We were down the hall in one of the cells and we were with these kids and they were down there with Cheryl and they were doing they had the REM pod and they didn't have a lot going on. And when I walked down into the cell, we started having the REM pod was going off and things like that. And one of the kids said, "Wow, Mikey, it really seemed to get upset or more active when you came around." And one of the kids said, "Maybe it's because you're kind of a big scary guy. Maybe you remind him of one of the guards." And so I said, "Okay." So I got up and I went down the hallway and I took my big flashlight and I started banging it down the cell bars. I was like, "All right, lights out, everybody in bed," like yelling like a guard would yell. Not, I wasn't provoking, I don't think. I was just
You're acting.
kind of,
You're
yeah,
reenacting.
right. And not to, and then sure enough, there was more stuff with the REM pod and everything else. So it was kind of, maybe they were right. But like I said, we don't go in and just kick the door down and start screaming and yelling, especially in Scotland. Who knows what types of, I think,
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine pissing off William the Bruce?
no,
No, thank you.
no. Mm-mm.
Robert the
There's
Bruce.
just,
Robert the
yeah,
Bruce.
or William
Or
Wallace, or,
William.
having a 7-foot spiritual sword slicing right through me or something like that. Like, no,
Yeah. Hoping it's
it's
spiritual.
right. But it's different over there, isn't it? I mean,
Everything is different there.
oh, I don't even know how to explain it. It feels so much, well, it feels so much older, and it's because it is. But
It is.
I don't know. Walking into a place there versus, places that we've been here in the States, to me, is the energy is just amplified, and I don't know if it's because it's new turf to me, and I'm not used to being in that environment, being in the history there and things like that. I'm a tourist, and it's new, but there's for sure, for me anyway, there's for sure a difference in the type of activity and the feelings there. Like when we were in Balgony
Yes.
and we were
Oh,
up in the, no, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Well, just for example, when we were up in the Laird's chamber up there, we with Gregor from Scottish Paranormal, we had to investigate with those guys, and they
Yeah.
had set up. So their style was they had set up equipment around the room. They created a whole perimeter. We had Trifield over here, REM
Mhm.
behind us, Mill over here. We had equipment all around. And so while we were doing our EVP, while we were just, talking and things like that, at one point, everything started firing at once. Like the Mel meter started buzzing. And so we were like, is that the Mel meter way over there? I'm sorry, the Trifield was going off. And then behind us, the REM pod started going off. And then it was just like the entire room surround, so much so that I said, would they have had, would the Laird have had like servants on standby up here waiting for him to say, go get me a tea or something? And Gregor and them were like, yeah, there's a chance that there could have been like ancillary staff in the back kind of waiting for the next order. So it's very possible that there could have been spirits just kind of tucked back in the
Mhm.
corner, waiting for the next order or whatever. So, but that it was that kind of different, and I mean, we've had that happen here too. And as a matter of fact, one of my favorite things to do now when I'm investigating places is to do that. I'll set up multiple. I'll kind of create like a little grid with the equipment
Right.
and see, because it was so effective there. But it's just what a whole new experience, a whole new world over there. Beautiful.
Yeah, Lori said that she has SLF footage of someone standing at the doorway.
At Eris.
So, mhm. And
Oh,
I had a photograph of the young woman Laura that was on our group,
okay.
and in the photograph, there's like a window, and her head is transparent. And so I asked somebody that's a friend of mine that does photo analysis for MUFON, and he said that it was just a light anomaly. It wasn't a thing. Well, then I watched um, Kathleen's footage of it on the show, on the program, and the same anomaly was on the film,
Hmm.
which was like a green
Oh,
window
I remember
frame.
that.
Okay, that was in a photograph I took. And Kathleen was not filming that when we were up there. Kathleen was just part of my group,
Huh.
right? She was not, y'all didn't film there during the day.
Right, right, right.
So for her, for that footage to, that same image to have been in the Dark Zones presentation, when I saw it, I was like, oh, well, how did that happen? Because the light
Huh.
would have shifted. There wasn't, it was all natural light in there.
Yeah.
So I thought, and I was going to ask you about that because I didn't know if you had seen it. I knew you probably seen it in the film, but I didn't hear anyone else discussing that they had that. So, you know,
Well, I remember, I think during the day before all that, you had shown us the picture and were asking about us or asking us about it. And I think it came up that it might have
well,
been a light an
it
anomaly.
wasn't that
So,
it wasn't that one because I didn't see that picture until I got home.
oh,
I didn't
really?
see the green window going through her
Oh,
head until I got home.
huh.
And because what I got was up in the banquet room. I had
Okay.
anomalies up in the banquet room.
Hmm.
And when people were telling that little girl, he doesn't own you. You don't have to do what he says. And I'm like, he does own her. Don't tell her that.
Hmm.
If you tell her that, you're going to bring the wrath of whoever is here on us because she is his. This is a
Yeah. I
different
mean,
period. This is not
right.
woman's lib. You
Yeah.
know, you have to be, and that's something that if you're investigating, you need to be aware of because you cannot go into an environment like that and bring our values and our societal norms and tell a servant person who is a serf that you've got rights.
Right.
You don't. They don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, y'all are going to get her beaten or worse or something. And that was my soapbox. when we were up there, because everybody's all go girl. I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
It'll
Oh,
be
come here,
go.
honey. Let me talk to you over here. I don't.
Let's take
Listen,
care of her.
yeah.
You can protect her better if you just have a conversation with her. If she is sharing herself with us, don't get her in trouble. That was so
Yeah.
scary to me for that spirit. And I know that sounds crazy, but I thought that was a terrible thing to say to a
Well, no, I
spirit
think
in
you're.
that period.
Yeah, I think you're right. When you go, you have to be aware of the time period and the potential for things that could have gone on then. And like, I mean, talking about the spirits that you would think that are there, if they're there, are from so long ago
Mhm.
that nothing that we do today or it resembles anything that you know, they experienced back then. So it's I would think that that little girl, if that were the case, listening to the rest of the group would have been like, "Guys, stop! You're making him mad.
You're pissing him
Hey,
off.
listen, someone pick up a dish and start washing it or something." Just like,
Well, because she stayed in that back corner.
yeah,
Yeah, where the door was here, she was in the other corner. And it was just like, I mean, because
that
she was back like going up by those windows. And I'm like, oh, you need to get back in your corner.
and that's the one that Lori got on the SLS. You think?
She got it in the library. Well,
Yeah,
the
the
Laird's
doorway of the.
quarters.
Mm,
So, but
wow.
no, this little girl was, I mean, I saw her, I didn't film her, but it was just kind of and I don't normally see. So that was
Well, but
unusual.
were you feeling like anxiety too? Were you feeling
Mhm.
anything at that time? Like,
Yeah. I was like, shh, be quiet.
yeah,
No. There was a
yeah,
lot of big hand movements, kind of a thing. No, no, kind of stuff,
yeah.
because they were going to get her in trouble.
And you were just
Yeah.
reacting to what you were feeling at the time,
I
and
was feeling her.
yeah, and saw her. You said you saw
I
her.
did. I saw her.
Yeah.
And she was tiny.
Wow.
So she didn't need to get smacked around
No.
or anything else.
No.
So,
Hey,
because she
boy.
was,
Hey. We got
hey, boy,
another visitor.
hey. But hello, Rick. But, it's so funny because in Balgony, when we were in the chapel, which was so active for most people,
Mm-hmm.
I totally got peace. I did not get anything. I didn't get anything scary. I didn't get anything that even felt the least bit like, "Ooh." I
Oh,
was just
wow.
like, hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm just watching what y'all are doing. I felt like
Huh.
somebody was watching over my shoulder when I was watching over Lori's shoulder doing the SLS. And then I moved and Tunde got behind her. And, that was an interesting place. Inside the chapel part, which we're going to get to when we come back, was really pretty cool. And
Yeah.
I know that y'all went back and filmed that. And we'll talk about that some, plus other stuff that you do, because you've got all kinds of stuff. So, for everyone listening, thanks so much. This is our top of the hour break, and we will be back. Y'all come back too.
I had a story about that too. I don't that first the entrance to the chapel, and I
Yeah.
don't. I mean, I have feelings and I have stuff, and I don't talk about it much. Like, the girls have been encouraging me to acknowledge those things and talk about them, but I really had this anxiety. Like, I had asked Gregor, and then I said, I feel like this place is full of people like there was a huge battle here, and that people were seeking sanctuary here. That people knew there was a church here, and that I said, I don't even know why I'm feeling this. Like I don't know. But I had to say it because it was inside me. I'm like, it was
Hmm.
building up. Like I feel like people are hiding in here. Like people are scared to death in
Did
here,
you
and they're
did you get that link that I sent about Balgoni? I found a big Wikipedia thing about it.
mm-mm.
Okay, I may not have sent it to you. I meant to. I will send it to you. But it's the history of Balgoni, and it goes back forever and ever and ever.
Mm.
And it's the original plans, it's the original specs. Um, the hubster is coming in now, so um, ignore the dogs. But we're supposed to.
But we're still live. Everybody's saying, "Oh, hey, y'all."
Oh well, there we go. But anyway, doesn't matter. But the specs were so cool.
Yeah.
I when I started looking at that.
I'm sorry, Kat. I messaged you in private chat that the break is in 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Well, here we go.
So I guess now we still are live.
Yeah, we're still going.
Cool beans. Okay. But
Yeah,
what?
yeah, you're still live, Kat. You're still
Thank
live.
you.
See that clock, that red clock in the top left?
I do.
When that gets to 60 in 8 minutes, you'll be on break.
Okay, guys. This is my first live, so we're
I
learning as we
love
go.
you.
And Race is like, telling me that all the rules. So we're getting there. But anyway, it was fascinating because we're going back. We're planning to do Balgoni again to go and visit and
Yeah,
investigate. And, I'm just so excited. And so I started researching more about the in depth history because I love that stuff.
yeah,
So I found a Wikipedia page on it. It had the initial plans for it, the initial layout, and then the the battles and stuff, and then the rebuilding, and then the expansion. And there's so much history there that I wasn't even aware of. I had no idea it was quite that old. And it is
oh yeah,
still the oldest standing tower in the Fife Kingdom.
yeah,
So that's pretty cool. We don't have kingdoms. I mean, I love Scotland, but
yeah. Well, there's Templar roots with that
yes, there are
castle.
Templar roots there. As you can
Yeah,
tell by
and
all of the coat of arms, almost all of
hmm
them have a Templar flag.
yeah,
And the fact that the Laird redid all of those flags himself and carved all of the beautiful doors and did all of the woodwork in the whole place. I mean, I guess the winters are long and cold. So if you're a master woodcrafter, you have something to do when it snowed in.
yeah, yeah.
So,
But it's funny because I felt like with that going on and sharing that, I felt better that I said it. But at the time, nobody knew of anything like that. But for some reason, I just felt like somebody's in here. Somebody came rushing in here for sanctuary, thinking that they
yeah.
would be safe in here. And so there was a lot of fear and sadness that I
Yeah.
was feeling. And I remember Christine got sick. She had to leave. A couple of the girls during the day had to
Well,
had
that
to
was
step
in
out
the
of there.
actual chapel part,
Yeah,
like the
well, I
church
mean that
part.
whole area. Going, yeah,
Yeah.
because it was so the
Outside
story.
of the
Gregor was
chapel where
warning.
we were at, I didn't get much.
Yeah, and
Inside, I got
Gregor
some
had
main.
in the chapel.
The actual
Yeah,
chapel itself.
yeah, because Gregor
So,
was telling us that they had experienced with their investigations in the past there that if you're investigating in the chapel, and Rick maybe can correct me if I'm wrong. If you're investigating the chapel, things will happen in the room outside of the chapel to distract you to go out there. Like it's trying to
mhm.
pull you out of the chapel to get you to go out there, and vice versa. if you're out there in the main room before the chapel, then you'll hear something going, you'll hear activity in the chapel and try to pull you in. I remember specifically during our investigation, I heard a woman's voice. I heard a voice outside the room, and I heard, because we had a REM pod or Mel out there too, and I heard that going off. So I kind of got up and went back there to check it out. And as I'm going, I'm remembering Gregor saying, "Don't fall for it, because they're trying to pull you away from the group." And that's funny too. I have a story for that I've kind of, we were talking earlier on about how we grow and we learn things in this field. I feel like that could have been the case, that there might have been something in there trying to pull one of us into that room, but I didn't feel unsafe. And
Right.
I'll tell you why later when we're talking about stuff out here. But it was just an unbelievable experience. When you walk into an old building here in the States, and you touch an old stove or something that they used back in the late 1800s or whatever, you're like, man, that's cool. I can't believe they used to bake on this and cook out of
Yeah.
this and whatever. But when you walk to a stone staircase that leads to a platform that has a hook or a round eye hook jammed into it, and they're explaining to you, you know what that hook's for? No. Well, that's where they tied the horses off. When the knights in full armor would mount the horse, they had to walk up those stairs onto that platform and swing onto the horse because their armor was too heavy. That is mind-blowing. For me, that was a mind-blowing. I'm touching this ramp that a fully armored knight had to walk up. This is their daily routine. Let me get up on this. But you know what I mean? So it's just so different and so amazing. There's nothing else. There's nothing else like it.
Well, I'm so excited to be going back.
Yeah.
Because there's so much I feel like that I did learn not to go with every other tour.
Yeah.
So we are going just us, right? A group of friends.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited because we're going to get to hang with this, Scottish paranormal guys who I think they're all wonderful. And I'm going to give a shout out to Allie because Allie Stewart made this photograph, and he made me a toaster to use on my desk.
Awesome.
Of Hughes. And I also have a castle. He from St. Andrews. He sent me something.
Wow.
So I think that it's going to be fantastic to go back and get to see and spend time with them. But the Scottish paranormal people are so special. I can't wait to interact with them again because they tell us the history like that. They share the information like that. They know. I mean, this is their home. They know these things. And they're so excited when we get so excited, right? I mean, we're tourists, but we're tourists with a passion. So,
well, you can be like-minded and be thousands of miles apart. I remember after that investigation at Balgoni, Gregor and I were talking in the main living area there where the fireplace was, and afterwards, and sharing ideas and things. And Gregor said, man, I've really enjoyed investigating with you. He goes, I like your style of doing things, and I like, I really, it was different combining the two, across the pond. But and it was such a compliment. Yes, it was such a compliment for me because I went in there, for me as a student. I wanted to learn from these guys because they've done it all over there.
They
are 100%. And
I have to interrupt you.
It's time.
Because this was from Kyle Stewart.
Oh, yes.
I am so sorry, Kyle. I hope you still love me because I'm bringing you some of my photography. So you'll have to talk to me. But anyway, Kyle Stewart and Gregor Stewart are two of the kindest people. And, Ryan is, I love those guys. So,
and
I really hope Allie doesn't smack me on the nose with a newspaper.
I believe Kyle did the calendar, the Scottish Paranormal Calendar, which is featuring Rick, our very own Rick McCollum, as Mr. November or something.
Yes.
What was that, Rick?
Was it November or December?
No,
I don't remember,
December?
but it was pretty cool.
It was very cool. He's an amazing photographer.
He is. Oh my goodness. Some of the work that he does, especially around St. Andrews. May. He was Mr.
We
May.
weren't even close, Mr. May.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit.
But the work that he's done of St. Andrew's Cathedral, he got shots from the water side, and it was just like to die for. And, we didn't really get to experience that. That was kind of like the Baton Death March through St. Andrews, right?
Oh, my gosh. Did I tell you what I did there?
I'm a little afraid to ask, but we're probably going to have to ask when we come back.
Oh, top of the hour.
Yeah, it is. But I'm going to hold you to that.
All right.
Because I want to know.
Continued.
To be continued. So we will be back. Y'all come back too.
Mr. May. Rick was Mr. May.
Mr. May.
Yeah.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
So this says everybody can see and hear me now, but I don't see Mikey.
I can hear you. You're back.
Yay. Is Mikey back too?
Hey.
Huzzah. Hey, boy. Hey. I am so excited that you are my first video guest.
Me too.
And I'm so glad that it's you, because you're not going to be all trippy about me missing a cue there.
No. Never.
It's a learning curve. And besides, I've got Al with me, so he's got my back, as it were.
Yeah.
So I love getting the chance to talk to you, because like I said, you're totally an EVP specialist. You're a drone specialist. the work that you've done with drones that I have seen is amazing.
Thank you.
You know, when we were at Winchester House, that was so special too, because I got to experience another ghost animal when we were there. So, and that one I saw because it came in the cool chute. It was just like, but
Oh,
yeah, that was pretty cool. But I'm a dog girl, so dog mom, and they know that. Even if they're not mine, they still know that. So
yeah.
it's kind of
You just
fun.
got that vibe. You got that energy.
I do,
Yeah.
and I love them. So
Yeah.
and even the weird ones. But
Well,
well,
I
do you
mean,
want to?
you got me on the show, so you
I
definitely
know.
take in the strays.
Oh, whatever. That's so bad. You're one of the best paranormal investigators ever. So I
Oh,
don't think
thank
that
you.
qualifies, right?
Look, my face is as red as my hat.
Oh my gosh. Well, then that's pretty dadgum red. It's a red hat. So, we did get to go to other places when we were in Scotland.
Yeah.
And one of the ones I did not have high hopes for it, although it is notorious. And that was the underground portion.
Oh, yeah.
And you got smacked down there. You almost got knocked out.
Well, I'm telling you, everyone should have a Rick McCollum because that guy literally has your back.
Literally, he saved
Yeah,
you.
he saved me. We're not short guys. We're pretty big guys. Rick's a little taller and definitely more muscular, but he uh, he kept telling me, I'm telling it's my fault. This guy kept telling me, make sure you duck, watch your head, watch where you're going.
Yeah.
He's been telling me that the whole trip. And what did I do? I stood up right under a beam and rocked I saw stars and he caught me. He said,
He
I
did.
went back. I went back, almost went down.
Yeah.
He told me, he goes, he goes, I grabbed you. I saw you. I knew it was happening. I was going to have to grab you and save you. He goes, but then I thought, now that once I've got him, what am I going to do with him? We can't both go down. I hope he doesn't go all the way down. Like he was hoping my knees didn't give out, which I got lucky. I didn't go all the way down, but I sure did. And he didn't. He took a head or two though. He walked into a sign, or we both
He
were.
walked into a sign and actually cut his head
He cut his head
because of a
open. Yeah,
dog.
we came back a little battered and bruised, but that was a good one. That was a good one. I saw stars on that one. But I was going to tell you before the break, when we were in St. Andrews, I couldn't believe that we didn't have time to go and see the old chapel and see, we were walking by,
Yeah.
so as the group was heading on to the next, you guys, we were supposed to be going to the castle and back around. So I'm at the tail end of the group,
Yeah.
and when we got to the entrance of the chapel, I broke off. I kind of
Should have
mapped out.
stayed with you.
Oh, girl, I mapped out where you guys were going to go in my head real quick before I left
Yeah.
the group, and I kind of was trying to time it. I sure did. I walked right into the chapel grounds. I walked through the chapel, went to the gift shop and bought a magnet, and ran back around, took some more pictures, and then I looped all the way back around and slid right back into the group just as we were kind of sneaking into or making our way over to the castle over there. But I was like, I'm not going to be here and not see this like firsthand, like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? I'm doing a drive-by with photo shoot so I was a little sneaky
Well,
snake.
that's the reason I always tell people that there is no way in heaven or hell that I can ever recommend that tour company, but I can always completely endorse Scotland
No, sure.
because Scotland is everything that you would ever hope to have as a paranormal investigator.
Yeah.
And it has men in kilts. which was
Well,
fun. I like a man in a kilt.
you know.
So
I love how, it's so different. Like out here, you go to the big cities and you see street performers, playing for money or whatever. I love how you can just be walking down the streets of Edinburgh and there's a guy in full garb blasting the pipes.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just it
There's
could go on for days with this stuff.
I know, but I did find out, and Linda Whiteford's niece had these people at her wedding reception, but they're like wild men with big bongos. I'm sure they're not called bongos, but they're like the kettle drums. And these men are out in long kilts, and that's about it. And they're drumming. And they did it on the Royal Mile, and I didn't see them there. So maybe they were doing another event when we were there. But I want to find them because their music is astounding.
Yeah, and we were there right before, Rick. If you're still there, you're going to have to correct me again. But I think it's Tatooine, and that's the big event where
they have the yes, the fling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's nothing but
the fringe.
Yeah,
the fringe is what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
But that's the big. Everybody plays everywhere. There's comedians and music and authors reading and acting and everything. That's the fringe is the big thing.
Remember they were blocking off parts of Edinburgh before that. They were preparing for that before when we were there. So yeah. But just what do you can't say enough about the place. I mean, it's amazing.
What's the first thing you want to do when we go back?
I'll tell you, I don't know what it is about this, but the town of Kouros, for me, I felt like I belonged there. I felt like when you're somewhere and you just feel like you're home.
You're home. You came home.
And Edinburgh is amazing. I was overwhelmed by just about everywhere we went. But when we went to Kouros and I got off that bus and started walking through the town, it was so familiar, and it was just, I love that town. I love everything about that town. And we broke off, Cheryl and I broke off the group. Well, we kind of all went and did our thing, but we
did. I started walking the hill.
Yeah, there's a huge hill that goes up to the Abbey and the cemetery back there. But beyond that, about another half mile up out in the middle of nowhere is a cemetery. And so Cheryl and I went out there, found it, flew the drone around out there in the cemetery, and then made our way back. We looped back around and came out at the Abbey from on the top. So
like where the house had eyes.
Yeah, we went up the hill the other way. Like we went to the end of town and up instead of the back way. But I don't know. There was the palace is just amazing. Rick had an amazing experience.
I know, right? Full body.
Yeah. But to see the markings on the walls, or to see the architecture and the craftsmanship of the day, and how they didn't have tools like we do today to do this stuff. They were hand carving stuff, and but it's just so the gardens, the palace gardens. The Abbey.
The Abbey was astounding.
I think every one of us that walked into that Abbey at one point sat and stared at that glass and just in awe of that place for at least 2 or 3 minutes before we left. I mean, it was just so I don't know, there's just something about that town. What I'm really looking forward to this time, though, and we missed it, we were supposed to go to Bannockburn.
Yeah.
And that's I don't know why, like out here in the States for me, since I've been doing this, is Waverly. Waverly's my bucket list. And the reason being is I think it's the medical side of me, the nurse in me, that just kind of empathizes with the staff there and the patients that were there and everything that happened in that place. And ever since I saw that episode of Ghost Hunters way back in the day, the Timmy up there rolling the ball and the shadows. I mean, I've always wanted to go. But for me, for some reason in Scotland, Bannockburn. I wanted to go to Bannockburn. I don't know what it is about that place, but that's the one I'm looking forward to. Oh, I don't know if you noticed I may or may not have went to the gift shop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see that.
I'm doing a travel nurse job in Louisville, Kentucky right now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Bannockburn would be my Scotland bucket, I think. But to go back and I'm excited to go back to the Highlands again. I'm excited to see Edinburgh again. And I wouldn't mind going back down to Mary King's Close and doing.
I know, right?
Just
I
all
would
of
like,
it.
I would like to be able to actually investigate Mary King's Close,
Yeah.
because I felt like I know that it's set up for tourists, and I know that in one of the rooms they have mannequins, and I felt like when we were in that room that there were spirits that were reacting with that mannequin. Like, that was not just a story that they put mannequins in there for, that this was real.
Yeah.
And I was feeling so much energy in different places there that I have a new thermal imager that I haven't gotten to use yet.
Okay.
And I am so ready. And it's an actual tool kind, right?
Oh, wow.
It does video and still as you're running it. And
Wow.
I'm just like, I have got to get out with this. This is driving me crazy. So it's coming with me.
Yeah.
And it's easy. It's a one-hand wonder.
Perfect.
So,
I don't know that I don't think they're allowing investigations down there. I think they stopped that a while ago, didn't they?
I don't think that they would allow just, every person in.
But do they know Rick McCollum's coming?
I think somebody should tell them. So
and
I would
Lori
guess
said
that Rick McCollum will pop that right out there.
Yeah,
But one of the main speaking of him, okay, one of the favorite things for me about my friend Rick is that he wants to take other people along with him.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't want to keep great locations to himself. He doesn't want to keep great experiences to himself. He wrote the #1 paranormal book of the year with his first book. The second book probably will win something. It's brilliant. And he's got like 3 other books in the works, and one's fiction, one's nonfiction, and the other's paranormal. But he likes to turn people on to cool locations.
Yeah.
And he likes to bring people together that he thinks are a good mix. And I am ever so thankful for that, because, that's why we're friends, is through meeting through him.
Oh, yeah.
And I am very thankful that you're my friend.
Oh,
I think you're a special human, and I like you.
Well, thank you.
So,
and I you. And
thank you.
Rick McCollum took me to Scotland way before I ever went to Scotland. That man's
I know,
writing,
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
His writing abilities and his storytelling.
He is fantastic at it.
Yeah. He's a brilliant author. He's a brilliant storyteller. And so when we got there, I think a lot of the reason why I felt the way I did in these places is because I already kind of knew what to expect based on Rick's description of these places, especially Balgony.
Oh gosh.
I don't think Rick's will, between Roslyn and Balgony, Balgony is probably Rick's #1 place if I were to speak for him. But when I walked into that place, 100% already kind of knew the layout and felt like, because he describes everything in such detail. But and Lori said St. Andrews was her. We didn't get to spend a lot of time in St. Andrews. I am looking forward to going back to St. Andrews too, because
me too.
The only reason why I got to see as much of the town as I did is because I got lost on the way back to the bus. So
because you were a rebel.
Well, I was running in and out trying to find my way back to the bus, but I got to see some. I mean, see stuff. I ran by it, but
Right.
there were so many food places I wanted to try and different things and spend more time at the when we first got
We
into
didn't even
town.
get fish and chips.
I know.
I
I
mean, and
didn't
we're
get
right there on the sea.
right on the
Yeah.
sea. And even that church that Gregor took us to when we first got off the bus, and
Yeah.
where the big battle was between I mean, that whole, I would have loved to spend more time there and just even read the plaques on the stuff, So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to going back there and not being in a rush.
Just meandering. Meandering is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I think that I would have liked to have seen more of the university. I
Sure.
would have liked to have seen more of, well, the little shops. I was fortunate because come heck or high water, I was going into the golf shop that Rick's friend owns, because that's where I got the boys in my life souvenirs.
Mhm.
Because I had such respect for the owner based on what Rick had told me about her, that's who I wanted to give my money to.
Mhm.
And it worked out beautifully. She was so nice. And I had, one of the reasons that we had such a bad time is because the tour owner didn't realize that she was taking us during the British Open in St. Andrews. So poor planning makes things hard sometimes. And
Yeah.
so, um, we could go all the way down that road, but suffice it to say that I would never endorse that tour for anything ever in my lifetime. But
Yeah.
we were so fortunate, despite all the negativity and all the ugly behavior and the just the ugliness that was thrown around on that we were the kind of people that we were, because it would have been easy to come away from that saying, I'll never darken Scotland's land again or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was so freaking magical.
Yeah.
The people, I didn't meet a single ugly person,
Right.
ugly acting person there. I was so moved by the fact that everybody wanted to know you were having fun. We went into this place my first day and got banana ice cream for dessert. And I'm going back there my first day this time too. So, just so everybody knows. But it was just amazing to see the people. One of us fell down and basically was levitated by everyone sitting on that street corner around them. It was a beautiful day. People were sitting outside eating, and it was just Rick said, just don't fall down in front of them, because they will pick your butt up and they will levitate you and take care of you and love you and pet you and make sure you're okay. But it's just, I'm sitting in Princess Gardens, and the pipe and drum group is preparing to do a TV spot. So they're just marching in and marching out, marching in and marching out. And I'm just running over there with my phone up to take pictures, and I'm sitting in a place that I'm pretty sure was haunted as all get out. It's Princess Gardens, but it was over by the road that comes behind Edinburgh Castle. And I'm feeling all the stuff. There's a cemetery over there and stuff. And I'm just like, this is going to have to wait, because pipes.
Right.
Yeah. But I just love when you can mix your passions with fun and with new experiences. And we're going to the Scottish Paranormal and UFO Conference.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I am so excited to talk to some of their ufologists.
And Linda's going to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love Linda.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear her. She's a
She's a
little
brilliant
fireball.
person. She is a fireball. She is a pistol.
Hmm.
She is so
Yeah,
much fun. And she's sassy. I like
yeah.
sassy women. I don't know why,
And
but
and again, I wouldn't have met her if it hadn't been for the McCollum effect. You know,
yeah, that guy gets
just
around.
keeps trickling down. Well,
Well,
that could have been that whole thing could have been a lot worse, but
we had so much
and
fun regardless.
we did, and it was the people there that made it. Rick, Rick made sure to make sure that his group and the people there had a good time and took care of people, as you know, and
Yeah.
um,
Even the ones that didn't know that that was happening.
right. So
So
I know this time around I won't even think about those negative parts of that trip because all these new memories that are
because
about to be made.
well, and we still brought back such good memories.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
it's some of it you can just kind of laugh at, and it's like, yeah, the good guys, the good guys rose up,
yeah.
and even at the worst of times, and there was,
Yeah.
there
There were a few of those.
it was not, when you're abandoned in a foreign country, you really need to make sure that you have your passport and your cell phone and that somebody answers their phone. But it was so funny in retrospect because it's just like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
Seriously, who thought this was a good idea, you crazy ass woman? But
I think my favorite part was when we stole the bus.
I know.
Yeah, we literally stole the whole bus.
We did. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, that was great. But
We're
I mean,
rebels.
there won't be any of that this time around. We were all those that.
We're just gonna have the best time. And something that I'm very excited about doing is getting to Roslyn and having my thermal imager in those cemeteries.
Oh yeah.
I think that I think I'm going to find a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
With that.
I just want to do that walk back down to the castle again. I feel like I'm in a Disney movie. I feel like a Disney princess when I'm walking through there. Like, don't say it, Rick. Don't say it. But it's just enchanting. Like that to me is an enchanted forest.
It was an enchanted forest.
Right?
And what's funny is like where the stable is. Because it's funny because that castle is such a ruin. The keep is such a ruin, but the castle is there. And then the stables with the curved brickwork are impeccable.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I walk around behind it because it is an enchanted forest. And I'm just sitting there and I turned on my my recorder. And I'm just sitting there and the stream is going by and, all of the thistles and everything else are out there. And Kathleen walks behind me and she was like, why did you come back here? I was like, why did you follow me? Because you feel it too. You know what this is. This is special. Yeah. And I just really feel like this is where I was supposed to be. And I guess you did too. And now Kathleen is a production person. She has worked on Ghost Hunters and and she has been in haunted locations. And the fact that she followed me back there to question me about it made me realize that it's not just me. It really is a magical spot.
Right.
And when you're lucky enough to find some place like that, I think that makes it so much more special, because she has a horse that she loves dearly. So I think that the stables spoke to her.
Right.
And they did to me because I used to, and I love them. Yeah. And so to see a home for them was special to me, and
Yeah.
apparently to her too. And then, the rest of it with the water and the green and that really is enchanted. It's
Yeah.
definitely enchanting.
hmm And I got to go on a romantic walk with Lori down there, all the way down there.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
stopped and sat on the bench and
Yeah.
just took it all in, and then took our time walking down and back. And she's not
She's
going to
good
need
at
me this
that.
time around, though. She won't need me.
She'll be busting your chops on the way by.
Yeah, she's going to be dragging me along this time.
Yeah. But,
But
that's something else. She's my best girlfriend. And it's so fun because when you see stuff like that with people that matter to you who have that same interest level, it just makes it, that much more special.
oh yeah,
And, Rick is one of my best friends. You're now one of my best friends. I just love the opportunity to get to experience things like that. So, and to know that the people with me love it too. Because this
oh
is the
yeah.
second time for us. It'll be Rick's 277 seconds time. So,
Uh-huh.
it's just what we do. And I'm so glad. And now we're getting sappy here. So
I know, right?
where
Back to the paranormal. Back to
did you get
scary.
where did you get the best evidence in Scotland?
Oh boy. Well, wow. I think we had amazing EVPs at Airth. We obviously, for me, the entire series of events that happened at Balgony for that investigation that we did. I mean, we had no idea where it was going to go when we started this, right? We all got together and kind of, we started up in the Laird's hall, and then the jail that we went to, Rick's saying, probably the best EVP I got was murder. When we were at the jail, that was the Inverary jail, right? When so they had that little machine in the front there that you could look up and see if any of your relatives had been in that jail, and and tell them to get out from Airth. That was a good one too. But
we already did that.
But, we did that. But going back to Balgony anyway, that I have never been part of something that, I mean, up to that point, that played out in such a story like that did, and it was just completely. It just happened. This is completely unscripted. This is completely just, paranormal investigators doing their thing. And we started upstairs, and we were asking questions, and we were getting responses. And then the big thing was, is there a secret that we don't need to know about? Because I remember up there, I said, Gregor, what kinds of conversations would have been had in this room back in the day? And he said, oh, they would have talked about finances, they would have talked about war, they would have talked about secret things that the Laird wouldn't have wanted anybody else to know about. And I'm like, okay, so what we started talking about, well, is there a secret here that we need to know about anyway? And yes, and in the chapel and downstairs. And so we're like, okay, so we're taking these bits of information, and we're like, well, let's go down to the dining area where these guys have. So now the Laird's had this conversation with the people that he needs to meet with, the important conversations that he needs to have. Now let's go eat and drink, and relax and leave those things upstairs. But even down in the dining room, we talked about what or Gregor said, we wouldn't talk about those things that we talked about up in the hall down here at dinner. We don't talk about those at dinner. And these are different conversations. This is so, but we still had there was something we heard something in the stairwell, and there was a piece of equipment that I had back on the stairs that was going off too in the dining hall. It wasn't as active as the Laird's hall, but all of this eventually led us down into the chapel. And we've said this before, especially during the day, what happened with all the females that were affected by whatever was going on there. When Cheryl stepped up and said, I want to go into the chapel alone and see, what'll happen down there, and it worked. I mean, it was, we went down there and then we talked, and the whole time Gregor's sharing with us the things that they've experienced there in the past. Over the past 5 or 7 years, there was a spirit there that they felt like was disfigured and was mean to the women and everybody because they wanted him out because they didn't want them to see his face and his disfigurement and things like that. Anyway, it ended up being this amazing, sad story. It was a lovely thing that happened, and I couldn't believe it at the end of it. It was just that's kind of what it's all about. If you're not in someone's private residence, trying to help them go figure out what's happening and help the living get through something like this, then what better to help an empty building that's full of spirits that are going through whatever they're going through. It's cool to be able to help the dead as much as you can the living, if you're fortunate enough to be in a situation like that. At least that's what it felt like, that we'd actually,
I agree with that
we helped. And so that was probably the greatest paranormal experience that I had there for me personally. I mean, we had a lot of great stuff. How do you pick a favorite? But for sure.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but actually getting to experience the unraveling of the living there, the day-to-day, meeting with friends, making a plan, going and spending social time with friends. I mean, you put that day in the life of one of the spirits in practice, and to me, I think that was that had to be brilliant.
It was, and even to add to that, another huge part of that investigation and a huge part of that whole story for me was the collaboration with Scottish Paranormal.
Absolutely.
So I can tell you, I have been on investigations with other groups and other people that have been in these places multiple times and have their own script, their own story of what's happened and what the evidence that they've caught, right? So, and when you go in there and you start asking other questions or start not questioning, but hey, could it have been this or could it have been that? They don't want to go that route. They don't want to hear that. This is how it is. No, we don't. This is what's happening.
This is what we had happen. That this is the way that is.
Not one time did Gregor or Kyle or anybody we were bouncing off of each other. They had been down there for years. They've been investigating this place for years, and they've had similar experiences for years. They've always had people coming out of that chapel with bad experience, not bad experiences, but been affected certain ways. But the fact that he never tried to reroute us or get us back on a certain track or whatever. We were all in this together and working through this particular scenario. And it wasn't about, this is our turf. This is what, that it was that, just that camaraderie that we had with them and that relationship. And this is the first time he's met us, or me anyway. Like, why would he?
I think that probably they had heard a little bit about you, because one of our friends likes to tell people about each other. It's all good, right? But that's what we do.
It's what we do. And to me, that was equally as important as the story itself, because I don't know that would have happened had they not been willing to just let's investigate together. Is this going a little different than what we're used to? Okay, let's see what happens. Let's roll with it. And Gregor even said at the end too, like I mentioned before, that it was one of the best investigations he's ever been a part of. So that's what it's all about. For me, that's what it's all about right there. There's no one bigger than the other person. There's no right
No.
way to do it. No, they're just
Well, that's
we
why
have a common goal.
yes. And that's
Yeah.
why we work with other people, is so
Yeah.
that we can learn their techniques, to learn, how they are finding that they get responses. If you're locked into one methodology, then you don't get everything.
Yeah.
It's you have to be willing to break your mold, to burst out of your mindset, to open yourself up to the possibility that you don't know everything. Okay?
Right.
There are no experts in this field. I hear that all the time. And I would say that there may not be experts in this field, but there are people that draw spirit activity.
Sure. And when
And
you get them together,
and any given day could be your day.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, I have been investigating with people that told me, oh, well, basically, I'm just a lump. I will only be sitting there. I will not be getting anything. They don't like me. They don't interact with me. Well, the ones where they had been might not, but the ones where we were cutting a rug. I mean, they were wide open. It was so
Right.
cool. And
Well, and
you never know.
no, and I was going to say I've had some of the most amazing experiences with people that have a completely different technique than I do, or different. Like I said before, I'm more of a tech guy. I'm not much of the spiritual guy or the feelings guy. But I'll tell you what, when I do cases with Melissa St. Hilaire, and she's a medium, and she feels things, and Natasha Dolgushkin, I mean, rest in peace, we lost her, but we would get together, and I don't practice that way. I don't do the dowsing rods. But when we do it together, when she was feeling things and using her gifts in along with the equipment, we had some pretty cool things happening. So if you weren't open-minded to things and other people's way of doing things, then who knows what you'll miss out on. I'm not saying that everybody that's out there is, I'm not going to go, me personally, I'm not going to, there's certain things I'm not going to do. Right. But
Right.
I don't go investigate with people that do those things. That's okay. And vice
It
versa.
is.
So, yeah. So it's just, you're absolutely right. I think that the people that you're investigating with too makes a big difference. Rick has said before, I enjoy investigating with, when we investigate together, we seem to get a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
And Rick's a magnet anyway. You give that guy a K2 and send him to the bottom of the ocean, he's going to get 5 lights. I mean, he's a magnet. But
I would give you that.
But it works, and I think it's there. You can feel that with our group.
Yes.
When we all get together. Same thing at Paulding, when we were in Paulding with Lori and Rick and I mean, you were chimed in, but
I was on the
you
phone.
weren't there with us.
Yeah.
But still, we had some amazing stuff happen at Paulding. I can't wait to go back to Paulding. So you're right. You're absolutely right. And I'm so thankful to be where I'm at right now, and to have met you guys, and to be doing this stuff with you guys. And, I feel like we're all family. And
We are all family.
And
it's, I include the people at Paulding in that too.
oh, sure.
That is one of the places, my very first time to go there just with Shelley was when I had that experience. And I was going to be doing a live show there. And I ticked off the spirits. I know it's hard to imagine, right? But I did. And And it was quite dramatic because as good as they are, the spirits, as good as they are at communicating, they certainly communicated with me. So there was, I'm looking at iron doors that are not moving but slamming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the stomping and the voices, and so with Paulding, I have a great respect for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a great love for it.
Yeah.
Because
there's a story there.
There is a story there. I think that's why we liked all the places in Scotland so much. Like you went through a day in the life of, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm looking forward. I hope that we get in Bannockburn too, because Ryan with Scottish Paranormal was part of the Haunted Scotland show, and Gregor as well. And when they were in Bannockburn, I was very drawn to that because we were supposed to have been able to go there when we were there the first time. And another one of those things that just didn't work out. But it was something that I had really, really been looking forward to.
Yeah.
And I just want to let people know that if you're in chat, if you're not in chat, get in chat. If you have a question, this is a great guy to ask. He's knowledgeable. He's very, very kind. And there's no stupid question ever when you're
Never.
talking to Mikey. But, I am mesmerized by Bannockburn.
Yeah.
And
I don't know what it is about that place.
I don't either. But, I sit there and I watch these shows, and the ones, they always clear out whatever's bad in there. They always, the spirits are calmed down when they leave, whatever. And I'm like, well, I've been to some of those places after they cleaned them or whatever, and there's still spirits there. So that's what, I think that when we go there, spirits we can't make them go.
No.
We do not have that power. And they may calm, or they may decide that they don't want to mess with you, so they're going to just dissipate from you. But they are still there because that's their home. That's where they have been, whether it's assigned to them, whether they have an affinity for it, whatever reason that there is, they're there. And so I'm counting on getting the opportunity to meet the spirits there. I don't think they're all bad.
No, and I practice this, and I would encourage, my free unasked for advice to people. This is something I've learned along the way. Yeah. I don't, make no mistake. I've watched like I said, 2004 when Ghost Hunters aired, I was watching every episode every week, and I was a student. That doesn't mean that when Mikey goes in to investigate a place that Ghost Hunters has been to, that I'm going to try to find what Ghost Hunters found.
Right.
I'm going into that place with my equipment and my methods and my techniques to see what I can find in that place. I'm not going in there to try to replicate or duplicate what they did, or try to disprove what they did, or anything like that. I'm not going into Bannockburn to try to find anything that anybody on any other show has done or ever been. When we go in there, it's a clean slate every time, every location.
Yes.
I don't have any expectations other than, so, and I would encourage people to do that. You don't go in there trying to find, like when I go to Waverly, I'm not going to go try to find.
If you get in there, if you don't call me, I'm going to kick you in the shins. And if I don't, there's not a cow in Texas, bud. I will drive up there.
Yes. No.
On an overnight notice.
I'm going to try to make it happen. But I'm not going to go in there specifically looking for Timothy. If Timothy's there, or I might throw it out there, but I'm not going to waste the night just sitting there trying to get Timothy to communicate with me because he moved the ball for ghost hunters. And I'm using ghost hunters as an example. I don't want to
I know.
get in trouble, but I'm just
Well,
saying.
I'm
So
going to tell you that I do respect the people on that show. I've investigated with some of them,
yeah,
and I have no problem with you talking about ghost hunters.
yeah, no, again, that was just an example.
I know.
Because
No
most people
worries.
know who they are. I'm not
And they
going to
won't
go into
care.
somewhere. Yeah, I'm just saying that I don't think anybody should do. I don't think anybody should go where I've been and try to find what I found. I think you should go in there with an open mind and your equipment, your style, and just start fresh. And whatever comes, comes. And it may be something completely different. Like you said,
Yes.
it doesn't just because somebody went in there and did a cleansing and got rid of something at Bannockburn that everything's gone. You and I are going to go in there hopefully with our equipment and our team and our techniques and maybe find something different. Maybe we have a different approach. Maybe So I'm not. I don't like doing that. I don't recommend it. I think you'll waste a lot of time and maybe miss out on a lot of potential stuff if you practice that way because
I
use
agree.
it as a tool. This is what's been seen before. I'm going to throw some stuff out there. If I get some hits, great. If not, I'm going to move on to something else,
I
And
do.
so that's my free unasked for advice on stuff like that.
That is actually, asked for advice because you're here. So
Well,
I'm thrilled that you're here because you're
yeah,
so good at this. Okay.
no, I'm so
And
happy to be number one.
yeah, always.
No.
So I think that, gosh, we don't have much time.
I
Tell
know.
people, you're Southern California Apparition Research Society.
Yes.
You are a traveling medical person, so you may not always be in SoCal, but you're still
No.
investigating wherever you are.
Yep.
And
I
what do you want to tell people?
Oh, I'm looking for places everywhere I go. My last contract was in the Dallas, Texas area, and I got to go to the Haunted Hill House in Mineral
Did
Wells,
you?
Texas. I did.
You went to
And
Mineral Wells?
I did. I was
Oh,
there
there's
with
so
Patty
much there.
Negri, and the Paraflix team was there,
Yeah.
and we had one of the greatest experiences in my paranormal career there.
Oh.
Actually, that was an amazing
Will you come
story.
back and tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
I have a clip. It was great. But right now, so talking to my recruiter for the next job when I was wrapping up there in Texas, I was trying to get back to California, but the job was labeled. So we were talking about my recruiter lives in West Kentucky. And so we were talking about Kentucky, and I said, I would love to go to Kentucky because of Waverly Hills and other things. And I was planning on trying to come out in the fall because I wanted to see the leaves change and all that. But it ended up that the spot opened. The California thing didn't work out, so I'm currently in Louisville, Kentucky right now. And I have already done some things, y'all. I found the witch's tree, and I went by there. I'm like half a mile from there. I can walk to it.
Yeah.
There's so many cool places. Waverly, of course, the bucket list, which hopefully I'm doing soon. Indiana State Sanatorium. You may have seen that not too long ago. The Destination Fear Kids were the first team officially to get in there and investigate that place. But I found that and I'm only 3 hours away from there, so they do self-guided tours. And I went up on a Thursday and early in the morning, and I just happened to take some gear just in case.
Go figure.
But long story short, it turns out I had that entire 500-acre place to myself, minus the staff that are rehabbing the governor's mansion to make it an Airbnb. They were there working in the mansion, but the tuberculosis administrative building, the nurses, or the nursing home, the psych building, all of that was empty. And I spent the
Oh my
entirety of the
gosh.
tunnels.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
So I'm gonna say, I was there by myself, and I've been told, I've been told, don't investigate by yourself. It's not safe,
Yes.
especially if you don't know what's there and you don't know what you're walking into. But I just couldn't pass up on that opportunity. So, and especially
You're a
it's
wild
the
man.
well, it's the nurse in me. I wanted to go to that station, and because I'd seen, a few videos online of people that had
Yeah.
been there, Destination Fear, but I felt like I could really relate again to that. So I actually went in there. I'm telling you, this is nuts. I can't believe I did this. I was in there by myself. I'm lugging all this equipment around. And I was telling you earlier about that experience that I had where I went into, I left the chapel and went into the main hall there at Balgoni.
Mm-hmm.
And even though Gregor had warned me against it, and I didn't even think about it at the time, I was just responding to what I heard and reacting as an investigator. But when I went in there, I didn't feel in trouble.
Right.
I didn't feel like concerned about an evil thing. And the reason I say that is I've been told that I have a lot of good people around me.
Right.
And so I feel like I got protection. And when I went into the nursing home part of the facility here at Indiana State Sanatorium, I set up in the nurses station. I put equipment on each. I was kind of I call it the quad, or I was in the octagon shaped kind of nurses station, but I put each floor, 100, 200, 300, 400 wings. I put equipment in each area. And I was trying to focus and do like an actual investigation, but I was so distracted I felt like I had got bum rushed
Oh.
by like past patients. Like I felt like, when you walk into a room and everybody's had that, oh, there's somebody behind me feeling like there's somebody
Yes.
there. I felt surrounded in there. And I don't know if it's the psychological of being in there by myself or, and it's dark. And,
I don't think that would have been the case for you.
Yeah, but it was just, I couldn't really, I could almost hear names and see people like the beds are still in there, the drawers, the dressers with clothes in there. People, it's like somebody came in and told them, all right, everybody out, and they left. There's personal belongings everywhere. There's patient.
I went in a hospital like that.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
the window treatments are still there. The computers are still there.
Yeah.
Everything.
So it was like I was there, like working in a nursing home at the nurses station. I was telling everybody, all right, who needs their medications, come and blah, blah. And it was, but I say that to say that I didn't, even though I felt all of that around me, I didn't feel in danger. And I
Right.
felt like I felt protected. I felt like I had a little bubble around me. And I know that's still not a good practice.
Well, it's
and
not
I
a good
can't-
practice, but you're here to tell about it.
Yeah, and I don't know that I
Don't
should
do
do
that
that
again.
But
But we are almost out of time. But
Oh, yeah.
I'm so glad that you shared that because I haven't been there yet, although I have interviewed the owner. So those are some good people up there.
Oh yeah, they were
And I'm glad that you
amazing.
had that opportunity. But if you go anywhere else cool, it's not that far for me to get to Louisville or
All
Lexington.
right, hop
So
in the car.
I would do it in a heartbeat. So,
All right.
but anyway, thank you so much for being here tonight, Mikey.
Well,
I
thank
have
you
just
for.
enjoyed you like sitting down and chatting with one of my best friends I don't get to see nearly often enough because you're going everywhere. How's your mom?
Yeah, she's doing amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm
She's
so
lost
glad.
a whole bunch of weight. She feels like a teenager. She's getting
I
her
bet she's
bathroom
acting
remodeled.
like it
She's
too.
super excited. Oh yeah, yeah. She's doing great.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad. So, for everyone listening, thank you so much for being here. we are going to be pretty good at this stuff eventually. And I hope you enjoyed the show because I enjoy bringing it to you. So be sure and come back. We'll see you next week. Same cat time, same cat channel.